and welcome to our Mountain Talk today with Renee Washington, who graduated from Lehigh with an MBA in Educational Leadership in 2016. While she was here, she was a graduate assistant for the women's soccer team. She had quite an illustrious soccer career at LaSalle before joining us. And we first met, she was a moderator for a Soaring Together panel that we did last fall that included WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, who I'm sure you've all heard about. And now Renee is actually a content creator working for the WNBA, NBA, not MBA, although you got an MBA. So Renee is going to talk to us today about entrepreneurship and how to think about starting businesses and a little bit about her career journey, which is just fantastic. I feel like every time I see something on Instagram or LinkedIn, you have something new going on. It's really fun to watch you as your career is blossoming so well. So let's see. Before we start, I see here that there are Tammy Sarfan, fellow soccer alum here, but before your time. And then others from New York City and San Diego. That's great. All right, well, let's get started. When you do have a question, please put that in the chat and I will read them aloud to Renee after she talks to us a little bit. By law, I am required to tell you we are recording this. So just keep that in mind and we'll post this if you have to jump off early or want to share it with friends later. All right, Renee.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I see familiar names in the chat and in the attendees list. So welcome to everybody, whether I've met you in person or have not had a chance to meet you. I'm excited to be here because I think this conversation around entrepreneurship is so important, especially since it's something that is hard. It's challenging. There aren't clear definitions around timelines and what you should be doing or what you should not be doing. And it's something that we're always all learning on the fly. So a big part of what I've strived to do, and actually, ironically, my business model is around, is the concept that we're all a work in progress and we're all working through something at this time. You know, our challenges may look different, but we still have challenges. And if you have it easy and you've got it all figured out, please let me know what you're doing to have it that way, because I don't know about you on the other side of the screen, but for me, there's always a new challenge. So I'm going to start there. And that's the first thing to keep in mind is it's hard for everyone. It's a challenge for everybody. So at some point, if you have a vision, you got to just start where you are. If you're waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect time in life where things are slowed down, when there's not as much chaos, when financially everything's put together, when the stars are all aligned, you will be waiting for a very long time. So for me, my business that I created, Planted Not Buried, was actually a vision I had for a number of years. And I remember, ironically, actually, after I was finishing up at Lehigh, so that was 2015, 2016, as I was coming towards the end of my 2-year MBA program and coaching tenure at Lehigh, and just trying to figure out what was next for me. And I've always been passionate about working in sports and about being a sports reporter, but I knew that I also wanted to be able to do something bigger than myself and create something that allowed me to give back to others. So to be able to use my platform to have a voice for the voiceless and connect people. And so through the work that I was doing, I always knew there's got to be some way that I can tap into helping others and using all that I'm doing to be bigger than me and be able to inspire others and provide for others in a way that allows them to feel supported. So I created actually in December of 2020, Planted Not Buried, which is a business model around just encouraging, educating, and inspiring others from any background of any age to help them have resources, opportunities to network, to be able to learn, to be able to come together at virtual events like this. And it's just a space that I found was missing and lacking. So I think when you are starting out your business, and mine is a nonprofit, truly, but if you're starting out a business or an idea, whatever that may look like, find something that there's a need for. And I kept finding in conversations with many people, they were asking me, where do I go to find this? Who should I reach out to find this? And I was like, I don't have all the answers. I'm not an expert in everything. There are a lot of things I do not know, but I know people that might be able to help you. So through PNB, now if you are looking for help around mental health or to find someone to help with training or if you're looking to start your own small business, whatever it may be, there are different resources there for you. That it's a database, it's a one-stop shop that now allows you to tap into whatever support you're needing to create that village. We all have that village, our family, our friends, our closest circle. And sometimes within your circle, you might not know where to turn. So I created something that allowed a model that was a need that I kept finding in a number of conversations. So make sure that whatever you're doing provides for others in a way that maybe is currently lacking. You know, maybe there's something in society, in your industry, in your job, in your career that you're finding you keep running up against. And that's what I found. And so then the next part of that is, after you have the idea of what's missing and that's, you know, piece that you're trying to add to make our world a better place, then also figure out what you're passionate about. It should be aligned with who you are. If at the very core of whatever it is you're doing, whether it's a business or even a career path you're pursuing, is not aligned with you, you're going to fall short. Because when those challenges come, when you have that adversity, it's a lot harder to keep going if your heart's not in it. So also make sure that whatever you're doing not only helps others, but also is aligned with who you are, so that now you know, this is something that I'm just as passionate and just as invested in as everybody else. And that when you do have the great times or the not so great times, you're going to be motivated to keep going, because you know that it's something that you enjoy, something that is aligned with you, and that also is a reflection of who you are. It's your legacy. It's you, an extension of you in that sense. So it should be aligned with what you stand for, your ethics, your values, your brand in that sense, and who you are striving to be as just even a person outside of your life as a professional. So then you get started. Like I said earlier, don't wait for the perfect moment. And I'm a writer. I've got notebooks all around me. I'm constantly like jotting things down. Just start with an outline of what this might look like. Okay, what are the different areas you're trying to figure out that you're going to tap into, and know that it will evolve. So that's why I love the concept of the fact that we're all a work in progress. And even the idea of being planted in the sense and not buried, meaning that we're all a seed, we're all growing, we're all trying to figure things out. And through time, through, you know, pouring into ourselves, through continuing to learn, continuing to have conversations like this, you will continue growing. But the exciting part is, what you imagine in the beginning is going to look different in reality. So even I can say from my own career, I always wanted to work in sports. I always wanted to have a business. I didn't know what it would physically look like until I'm in it. So be open to pivoting. The pandemic forced a lot of us to pivot. And for me, I know that was the time that I launched business and began growing an extension of myself, and pivoted because I realized this is the time to tap in to these other areas. We're having virtual conversations. I was actually thinking about trying to have something that was in person, with a lot of our community events and nonprofit work and all of our different resources being in person. But ironically, it was through the pandemic, unfortunately, that I realized I'm actually shortening myself, and the access I want to provide only expands if we're having more virtual opportunities and resources. So that is the craziest part about the pandemic for me, that business-wise, I should say, is the fact that it allowed me to take a step back. I wasn't covering sports. I wasn't out at games anymore. I was home like everybody else a lot more. And I began to realize, if we're able to have these conversations over Zoom, Google Meet, Skype, FaceTime, then my business model can be that same thing. So what I envisioned in the beginning of, let's just do things in the local community, has now grown to realize that I'm now able to have even more access to tap into others, but also I can now expand the reach. So don't be afraid to pivot and change what that business model may look like. Circumstances, life in general, may allow you to realize that there's something more that you could be doing. So even I had a very closed perspective in thinking, we're just going to do in-person events. We're just going to, focus on local community outreach projects and things like that. And then was able to realize there's more that can be done, that now my business at least has reached people around the world. I've connected with people in Nigeria. I've connected with people in Canada, in Mexico, in Italy, in Croatia. We are now expanding to reach people and businesses all around the world, which is something I never imagined, especially in just about a year and a half in, not even. So be open to pivoting and be open to continuing to find ways to learn. When you feel like you've reached a great starting point or phase 1 is done, let's move on to phase 2. Let's keep going. But understand that overall business model is not going to happen at once. It's going to take time. So when you start with just a phase 1 and you have a plan of, okay, by the next month, by the next year, this is where I intend to be, it allows you to keep growing and going from there. So just like in our careers and everything else we're doing, it did not happen overnight. The last thing I will say is to continue to find ways to grow in what you're doing. So you're not getting complacent. Okay, we've mastered this aspect. We've mastered how we're going to have our social media presence. How can we now expand with our events? How can we now expand within our reach? Find ways to keep learning, whether it's through your village that's around you and your support system and asking questions or bouncing ideas off of them, or even using different resources that are online, on YouTube, reading. I'm a big reader. Finding books to read that allow you to just think differently and have that unique perspective of ways you can continue to make your business model unique, but also something that's valuable and that's impactful to be able to help others in some way. So that being said, I will turn it back over to you, Jennifer, to jump into some questions.
Yeah, so everyone online, please put your questions or comments in the chat. You can mark it so everyone sees them, or just mark it so that the hosts and panelists can see it. Rob did say, I have to leave. I wish I had some of this excellent advice 50 years ago when my first venture went belly up. Keep up the excellent work, Renee. I had a question about one of the fears of striking out on your own and sort of creating your own brand like you've been doing is, how am I going to make money? So you talk a lot about passion and just going for it. What about the mortgage payment? How do you figure that into your equations?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to connect it to something that Rob said, because the other thing is within this, when I talk about what it's going to actually be compared to what you envision, part of that might be failure. And like Plant to Not Bury, it's not the first thing I created. I've created a number of different ideas and they've kind of snowballed into the next one. So also understand that as you're taking that first step, there might be some backpedaling that has to happen that allows you to kind of take a step back, reevaluate what you've been doing and figure out how you can learn from there. And so it's interesting to me because I also actually launched an interior design company in 2020. But I have launched these ideas and these businesses that from the outside, it's like, oh, that's great. But on the inside, I know I failed. I've had ideas that I've scrapped. I've had different visions that had to be changed. And the same thing goes with the monetary aspect. When you're first starting, you're trying to build an audience. And I think there are a number of ways to do it. To me, the most important thing is to be organic, that you're creating those lifelong impressions. We're in a very clickbait, quick, low attention span society, unfortunately, now, where everything's about just getting your name out there. But it's about more than that. You want to build relationships with people. So I know even a lot of small businesses have reached out to me and allowed me to connect with them and kind of help promote their products or even just try their products out. The beginning is a little bit more of that investment on you of maybe you're shipping your products to someone or asking them to take time to try out in the trial period your products. And then as you're building organic following and people that are interested and starting to build those relationships, word of mouth is huge. So now, okay, I try your products, I enjoy them, I'm telling somebody else about them in an organic way. So the monetary side is hard because we have bills to pay, of course, but you want to make sure that you are understanding it is a marathon, not a sprint. So I recommend as you're building that business, have something else. Because the other part of this is if you are 100% relying on this, it's going to become stressful. It's going to become something that's going to wear on you. So before you take that leap of faith, make sure you're covered financially. Your insurance, your benefits, your bills, make sure you're covered financially. And then now as your business is growing, maybe you're starting to step away from that other work that you're doing. But I've always been one that has had multiple hustles and multiple jobs and just done a lot of different things for that exact reason. Now it allows you to focus more on the business and not the money. Because if you're pushing money at people, you're going to push them away. It comes across very gimmicky. It's very sales-like. I know I have people all in my LinkedIn messages and wherever else. Hey, I've got this product, try this. And I'm like, I don't even know you. So why am I going to set up a Zoom conversation or take time or effort to connect with you if I don't actually know you? Build organic relationships. And I actually have a now friend of mine that has a business out of Florida that I met who did exactly that. She reached out to me. She said, hey, I just want to connect with you. I love what you're doing. It was more organic. We had conversations. And now I'm more interested in helping her long-term as a friend versus just as a salesperson. So take your salesman or saleswoman hat off and focus more on genuinely connecting with people. And the irony of that is, even though it may seem like it's taking longer in the beginning, it actually isn't. It's going to allow you to grow in a much more organic, natural way that things will then hit the ground running. So I think on the monetary side, you can absolutely use social media. Obviously, that's huge. Connecting with people that have a great following. But again, you're connecting with them, not in a, hey, you have 10 million followers, here's my product, because there are a lot of those messages going out. Connect with them and just get to know them. Hey, I love what you're doing. I love what you stand for. Introduce yourself, have conversation. And maybe now, a couple weeks in, then you talk about some collaborative opportunities. But take time. And I think a lot of people just jump right in and try to rush, because it's like, and here's the other side of it. We are in that short-term, quick gratification mindset of, I see everybody's getting money off of their business. I want to do it too. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes years to become an overnight success for a reason. So when you're looking at that other business and you're thinking that you have to do what they're doing because they're making a lot of money, and you see them or hear that they're traveling or posting all these images of them in different spots around the world, understand that that's their journey. So when you're building your business, stay focused on your own business. You can always learn from other people, but don't get caught up thinking you have to be where they are, because everybody's working through their own path. And if you're so focused on looking over the fence, you're going to lose sight of what you've got. So I know I did a long way around answering that question, but stay focused on where you are now and less on competing with others, because the money will absolutely come. There's a variety of ways. Influencers, you can host events, especially now that things are opening up. Host an event, invite people, partner with a, let's say you're selling skincare products, partner with a local business at a restaurant, and maybe you offer for them, hey, I'm going to bring in X amount of people, and now we're going to set up a table, we're going to test out some products, and maybe you're collaborating with people. Build those business partnerships and relationships, and then you'll get people that are more interested in genuinely wanting to support, help, and share all the great things that you're doing.
Great. We have a few comments and questions here. So Robert asks, +1 to Renee, as a startup guy, I have found there's always more money chasing fewer good ideas. I've founded 5 startups and 2 turnarounds. It does take hard work to keep refining your idea to connect with the value that people want to invest in. Believe in yourself, establish a process that allows you to keep pivoting as you search for that value proposition that will attract others, and the money will follow. Tammy's, and then I'll just read another comment. Laura says, great job, Renee, you're doing awesome. Tammy asks, and I was thinking the same thing, Tammy, what are some of your tips to stay organized when you're involved in so many things in businesses?
Oh, now this is my wheelhouse. I think this is probably one of my secret, most effective ways to help me continue to evolve in my own life. You have
and before you start, can I ask you to try to keep, because we have one, 2, 3, we have 3 more questions and 9 minutes left.
Yes, I know, time is flying by. So I definitely think being organized is actually one of the keys to success, because as you're creating these partnerships, relationships, conversations, you don't want to lose sight of things. Having a good planner, I like to write everything down. So I've got everything written down in a notebook. And what I actually do is have a separate notebook for one thing versus the other. So like my WNBA work is in one notebook, my business is in another one. And then within that, I'm not overlapping and getting confused as to what has to go where. You can also within that write down dates. So if something needs to be done, like you want to call somebody on Friday, maybe I color coordinate things with different colored pens. I'll write down the dates of things. Also, your calendar on your phone and your reminders, huge help. So like this event has been on my calendar ever since we first had a conversation. So now I know, okay, I can't schedule anything at this time. I'm scheduling around it. Calendly, also another huge resource. It allows you to schedule it allows you to send out a link. First of all, from a professional standpoint, it's a huge boost. I always recommend anything that can help the professionalism aspect of your business, because it just shows people you've taken time and you're serious about this. So Calendly is one of those ways. Calendly.com. I use it. There are others as well, but that's what I use. And now I can send people my link. If they ask, hey, can we have a conversation about something? Here's my link. They can set up a time to schedule with you. It automatically syncs with your calendar so that you're not double booking. So I definitely recommend that if you have multiple ventures that you're tapping into, because you can actually have different scheduling blocks for different events. And then other than that, just making sure that you are crossing things off, as you're making note of them, so you're not forgetting anything. And then I always, at the beginning and end of each week, and usually within each day, and making sure that I'm keeping up to date. So do a weekly rundown or daily to-do list. And then at the end of the day, revisit that and make sure you've gotten as much of that done as possible so that you're not missing anything.
I think that we'll probably invite you back for another mountain talk just on that topic, because it would be a selfish thing, because I need that kind of coaching. So Katie's question, what has been your biggest challenge in getting to where you are today?
Self-doubt, for sure. I think a lot of the challenges actually are usually internal, because we're so busy just feeling like, whether it's financial, socially, physically, whatever, feeling like we're not doing enough or we're not where we're supposed to be. And so without a doubt, my biggest challenge has been like, am I questioning myself, being hesitant, and instead having to understand that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And there might be times that I can't do something. I have to either reschedule, I have to move things around. You're human. So I think the biggest challenge is yourself, and knowing you need to prioritize self-care. You need to prioritize your family, your finances, making sure you're covered so that you can be at your best when it comes time to actually step into these ventures and execute them. So definitely try to quiet the noise as much as you can to stay focused on what you're doing.
Well, self-doubt does not strike me as something you struggle with. So
we all do.
Yeah, you're just amazing. And the confidence is admirable for somebody so young. Sandra is asking, is the organic framework that you talked about also effective for business to business, not just business to consumer?
Oh, yes. And hi, Sandra. Nice to see you again. I actually work a lot with businesses and consumers within my model, since I'm partnering with small businesses, but also reaching and expanding the client base that we have. So for me, everybody is still human, whether it is the business or the person behind the business. So I always think relationships are key. And actually, that's probably one of the biggest things, along with being organized, that have helped me in my profession as a reporter, but also as a business owner, of being able to build these relationships with others that now they're going to want to support you, and vice versa. Partnerships go both ways. So being able to offer these mutually beneficial opportunities that I'm going to help you, you're going to help me, let's grow together. Because we're all, like I said before, we really are all a work in progress, that I guarantee you, regardless how many followers, clients, sales, whatever their finances look like, whatever their Q1 looks like versus Q4, everybody is still trying to figure out how to take that next step. So I always say it starts with the relationships, without a doubt.
Right. Laura's question, what are your thoughts on promoting tangible products versus services? Is it easier, harder? Challenge is different?
Yeah, it's definitely different challenges. If you have something physical, because we absolutely have a what are you doing for me kind of mindset in society, and how quickly can I get things or do things. So a product, and thank you for dropping in the Calendly link. The products are something that's easy. First of all, you can ship out a small sample. If you have, let's say I'm going back to that skincare line, you can easily ship out a sample, whereas services such as business consulting or any other type of service that maybe isn't physically something you can show is tough. But I think you can always use resources such as YouTube or videos in general that allow you to be able to speak on it and show it. So maybe you don't have a physical, here's my product, but you can now put out a 2-minute video explaining, hey, here's what I do as a business consultant. I'm going to work with you about this, this, and this. And so you can always create something physical and tangible, whether it's the actual product or you speaking on the service or product. And that's actually a resource that's very beneficial to tap into, to use a website, YouTube, Calendly, all these different types of professional aspects that show I'm in this for the long haul, I'm serious about this, and will also actually separate you from other businesses as well.
Yeah. Katie says, thanks so much for your time, Renee. This was fantastic and very helpful for a budding entrepreneur. So Katie, get in touch with us. We have lots of resources for entrepreneurs here at Lehigh. So Glenn asks, so Katie had asked, what's your biggest like personal challenge? And Glenn is asking, what have you found to be the biggest challenges in building your company? Or should I say company?
Yeah, I would definitely say time, because unless you guys have figured it out, otherwise we all only have 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
And so when you do have other things that you are doing, it's hard to really commit to the time that's needed to help build it. I would love to be able to just focus on one thing and just only get that off the ground. But there's not enough hours in a day. So capacity wise, it is tough. Something that I've actually had that has helped me is I've hired interns.
Huh?
And I, in the beginning, you want to talk about money? I'm straight up with them. Look, I am someone that also was involved in a lot of unpaid internships. And I do not like that I cannot offer this extreme great salary as an intern, but I will give you hands-on experience. This is not going to be a position where you're going to be doing tedious tasks, getting coffee or something like that. You're actually going to learn. You're going to be able to get hands-on experience. You're going to have things you can pull away for your portfolio. So there are ways to help work around that capacity issue. But definitely it's hard to invest that time in by yourself. So prioritizing and staying organized, having that schedule, carving out time. Let's say you carve out an hour each day where you're going to dedicate to just working on your business and focusing on that, writing things down, jotting down ideas, thinking through things. And then now you're committing each time, each day, or each week. And then that might grow, or it might have to shrink depending on what life is thrown at you. So definitely time, but you've got to be organized, prioritize, and do what you can to best work around that. So I know we're running up against time in itself, but I really do hope that some of these different tips are helpful for you guys, because honestly, if you have an idea, that's the start. To be a visionary, to be a creator, to have these ideas that I know for me, I'm like waking up and I'm like, oh, I've got an idea. I got to jot this down on my phone or write this down in a notebook. It just starts there. And then just start piecing it together of what that looks like, what that's going to help with, and how you're going to be able to best tap into that. And you will be fine as long as you keep going.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. Yes, you ended exactly at 1 o'clock. So that was amazing. Yeah, I feel like we could learn even more from you of all the answers you gave. So there's a lot of compliments coming in here on the chat, which we'll save and I'll share with you afterwards. But thank you everybody for participating. Now take the next hour and jot down your ideas, and we get together again as an entrepreneurial community and start to create.
And last thing I will actually share is branding is very important. So being consistent with your brand. And as I'm saying that, I'm going to drop a little plug. If you do want to connect with me offline, since I know we've all got to jump, Renee P. Washington on everything, social media, my website, I'm very easy to connect with. ReneePWashington.com. All my social media handles are Renee P. Washington. Thank you. So you can easily shoot me an email or a message, and I'd love to chat with you and help any way I can.
Fantastic. Thank you, Renee, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you all. Good luck, and let's keep going. We got this.
Okay.
Thank you.